on the trails part of it, one of those people, and because I think I, could offer some assistance somehow to help and maybe manage that or develop more or that kind of thing. But that would be my only interest. If I couldn't be on that part of it, then I probably wouldn't have any interest in anything else. Because I don't really do any golfing or anything else. So I think that's about it, really. Thank you.
So if I could just jump in real quick. We do look for people that are broad and understand the bigger POA.
Yeah.
But I manage the trails, and one of my managers, Trey Anson, and certainly even if you didn't become a part of this committee, we could tap into you for other things, and I can, you can have a direct line to me and Trey if you have some feedback. The development of the trails really is done by the Trailblazers, myself, and the city. But that doesn't mean you can't give feedback and all that, and we welcome someone like you that's an avid mountain biker. So we can stay connected. My email is on the Bella Vista website if you need
Okay,
me.
Cool, awesome.
Okay?
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
All right, nice to meet you.
Thank you, James. Appreciate it. Next, if we could have J.P. DeViers.
Hi, everyone. I've been in the area since '97. We used to live in just off Reardon for about 8 years, and then when we had children, we moved into Bentonville to be close to the schools, and haven't come back here, but I've always maintained a property here and taken advantage of the facilities and things. So I'm trying to transition out of working into something else, and so I'm looking for opportunities to volunteer and help, and this seems like a good place for me. I'm interested in Bella Vista and keeping it Bella Vista, I think, and making sure these amenities are here for the folks. I ran for Senate last year, so that was a big learning for me. I didn't win against a Republican, but so I ran as a Libertarian, and that was interesting, and I'm looking for those kind of opportunities. I volunteer at the university. I'm on the honors committee, the honors college committee at the U of A, and my eldest is second year at U of A, and my youngest has just written his last AP exam today. And so my opportunity at the high school is leaving. I was involved with the band in that at Bentonville West. And so, yeah, that's about me. I'm available. I work remotely, so I'm pretty flexible in my timing, and I can work my schedule around whatever is needed.
JP, thank you.
Questions? No?
Appreciate it.
Thank
Does anybody have a question for JP? Okay. Moving on. Richard Taylor. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. My name is Richard Taylor. I'm married. My wife's name is Marcia, and we've been coming to Bella Vista since about 1980 when my parents retired down here. And so we watched the metamorphosis that's taken place in Bella Vista over the years. And we bought a house here in 2007. I was still working in Dallas as an attorney. And then in 2015, we retired and moved here full time. For the first year, I was kind of going crazy, didn't know what I was going to do. And I actually worked for Daryl Muldoon at Tanner Creek in the golf shop for about a year and a half there between 2016. And then I got involved. I've golfed with the B-Boys golf group up until about a year and a half ago. I had some arthritis in my wrist that kind of was giving me some problems. Still pretty active tennis player, play a lot of pickleball. We live on Loch Lomond and do a lot of boating there. Also use the trails, but we don't mountain bike on the trails. We hike on the trails. My age, I'm a little dicey. Risk reward for me getting hurt is a little risky, but we still bike, but we mostly on the greenback trailways and things of that nature. I was served on Benton County Quorum Court for a couple of years, 2020 and 2021. There's 2 years I was appointed by the governor to replace a lady that moved out, and so I was appointed. I wasn't elected, but I served 2 years on the Benton County Quorum Court, and that ended last December. So I'm kind of looking for something to get involved again, and I think it's be kind of a nice thing to do, provide some input and give me something to do. So if anybody has any questions of me, I'd be happy to. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Richard, thank you. We appreciate you coming up. And finally, Robert Williams. Good afternoon, Robert.
My wife and I moved here in 2016, specifically because Bella Vista was touted as a recreational community, and that's what we wanted. I've been in recreation in one form or another practically all my life. As a kid, I was always the one everybody had to look for, because I was out on the trails somewhere or in a mountain cavern somewhere. And then a tragic accident for me in '81 got me involved in the fitness end of things. So, and then I owned a gym for a while, an Anytime Fitness in Colorado. So I've just been a part of that whole recreation scene. And my kids to this day live the legacy of camping, hiking. They're passing that on to their kids. To me, I mean, just recreation is probably the most important thing in my life. I am bowled over at what Joan and her crew have done since we moved here. They've changed the face of recreation, in my opinion, here in Bella Vista, for the better. I mean, it's just an awesome place, and I think I could be a valuable team member here, and I'd love to support what they're already doing, let alone what they're maybe planning to do. So.
Anything else? Thank you.
Just to go on record, thank you for those kind words. Robert and I do know each other, happen to be somewhat neighbors, but what I'm able to do is because Tom was brought in by the board, so group effort, but I have a great team. Thank you for acknowledging that.
We'd like to thank the four of you for coming up and for your interest in volunteering in the community. As you know, because you're here, what makes a strong community are the strong volunteers and the extra time that you put in above and beyond your life. So thank you for being here. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you would like. Otherwise, you're free to go. As I told you, and I will tell the public listening, so what will happen next is the rec committee themselves, we will vote amongst ourselves via email. I will compile the votes, and I will submit the top 3 names to Tom, who will take them to the board for approval. And then we will announce next month where we're at. Okay? So thank you all for being here. Tom has to leave early again. Is there any words that you wanted to share with us before you take off?
No, we are extremely busy in all areas, and very pleased with how busy we are. And activity cards are extremely popular again this year. We're outpacing the prior year. Golf is outpacing prior year. Rec is doing great. We're starting the year really, really strong. If you haven't yet voted, you have 1 week left. So make sure you do your homework and vote for the board members. And then also next, what's the date? May 16th is we have our next tour of Reardon Hall. That will be at 3 o'clock. And on that same day at 6 p.m. here in the boardroom is the annual meeting where we will reveal the results of the election and present the annual audited financial report. So a couple of things. So make sure you vote and go on the tour next week. We had about 180 people go on the first tour, and Rick had a tour of the aquaculture ponds, and he had about 150 people attend. So we have been busy with tours.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, I was over at Reardon, and I was amazed at how great the turnout was. The interest in the community that was out there was a really good thing to see. I wasn't able to make it to yours, so I'm sorry. All right, I'll start with the amenity reports, just as a heads up so you're not bored. I have about 4 of them tonight. But what I want to tell you is I did them all on one day. I did them on a Sunday, and I did everything from the west side to the east side. And if I was going to give a recap of what I saw tons and tons of young families outdoors everywhere I went, from the west side to the east side, whether I was at an amenity or driving by a park, just outside, very, very busy, very active, very strong community. I was just like so impressed as I thought about that as I was driving around. So we're very lucky to live here. So I'll start with Metfield. This would be the recreation complex and the clubhouse. It was late Sunday afternoon. This was my last stop. It was very busy. Every pickleball court was in use. The basketball court was busy. I even actually caught one of the basketballs as it came flying at me. Playground was extremely active. The skills park was being utilized. There were riders, bike riders everywhere. There was a group of them that had stopped at the pavilion to have a snack before they went on their way again. People all over the grounds. Only thing that was not being used were the shuffleboard courts and the horseshoe area. Areas for review. The portable toilet was on its side. However, the restrooms are all in working order and easily accessible. There are two, I'm going to call them water spigots. They come out of, yeah, okay. I wasn't sure the terminology. They were both turned off. However, one of them has a large pool of water under it, so I don't know if it has a leak. And then I've seen them, we have them at Loch Lomond, and they have a nice cement pad under them. These two have pretty good holes under them where the water pressure is digging a hole into the ground, so for consistency, it was just an observation. And then at the skills park, one of the little bridges has parts of the boarding breaking off. It still feels very sturdy. I just don't know enough about it. I thought maybe somebody that does should just take a look at it and make sure. As far as member interactions, I didn't speak to anyone at the park. However, I did follow up on a social media post I had seen, and it was from a POA member that had rented the large pavilion and was expecting grills. There aren't grills at the large pavilion. There are grills at that small one, and there are grills interspersed between the tables over by the skills park, but there were no grills over by the large pavilion, so an observation. An additional observation, I just had to tell you because I just love this. There was this little sign at the bottom, you know, we have the trailhead signs, and there was a little sign down at the bottom with a QR code and a picture of a glass of beer, and it gave you directions to the gear garden, and I'm telling you, I was about as hot as I am now, and I was like, man, that was really smart. That's where I should be headed next. And then finally, I ran over to Metfield. However, I got there at 3:14 and it closed at 3, so I didn't get an opportunity to do what I needed to do. I did want to update everyone that at last month's meeting, we talked about the Google situation and all of that. A POA member did write in with several suggestions. They've all been passed on to Jessica, and so hopefully that will help us with that. So thank you.
Yeah, and that gentleman did help make one change, but it's not just Jessica, because while Jessica and I manage those amenities, that's really a marketing thing. So we've shared it with Ash, who's our director of marketing. So slowly they'll see what they can do.
Great, thank you, Joan, I appreciate that. Okay, moving on to Branchwood, the complex and the trail. This was also Sunday afternoon. This was the first place I went. It was very quiet. I was surprised. There was a family on the playground, a family on the basketball court. Disc golf was probably the biggest thing going on, and there was a group setting up for an inside private party. I might have been too early for pickleball because I was surprised. Areas for review. Someone created another creek walkover from the disc golf course. It's just behind hole number 6, and this one's actually probably worse than the last one because they laid 2 logs across the creek, and then they tried to put a piece of, I'm not even going to call it some kind of plywood, something, to make a path, and it doesn't, yeah, it's a problem. The other one that I saw last month is gone.
Right, a brand new bridge has been put in.
Oh, good.
What day was that?
This was Sunday, not this past Sunday, the Sunday before. Member interactions. I spoke to a young man, his name was Ty. He and his friends come out to Branchwood once a week to play wall ball, I did not know what it was, on the racquetball courts. This is similar to racquetball, however, more difficult and strenuous. You use your hands, and sometimes your feet, to hit a small rubber ball off the walls. It is considered a minor sport in the U.S. There are maybe 40 clubs, mostly in large cities and colleges. So, another use for the racquetball courts.
Many of you may know it as handball. It's actually a very old sport.
Okay.
You play, your hand is the paddle, and you use a hard ball.
And then moving on to additional observations, a huge, huge shout out to the maintenance team. The storm cleanup after last month's reports was extremely well done, not a sign of any of the damage anywhere at Branchwood. And that had to have been a lot of work. I mean, it was a mess last month. The rocks, the mud, huge shout out to that crew. The Young Lungs at Play signs have been reinstalled at the playground. They look really good. I noticed that the bulletin board is gone at the entranceway, and there's like a TV monitor, and it's advertising the restaurants and the weekly specials. Looks very, very professional. The front wall of the lobby has been updated, and the graphics are up against a blue background. Looks really cool when you come in. Very nice. And I just have to say, the entire pickleball area with the new seating, all that blue, it just looks so professional. The aesthetics are amazing out there. Something to be really proud of. Okay, one more, Loch Lomond, sorry guys. The overall conditions, it was about 2 o'clock on Sunday. It had more activity than Branchwood. I went there directly after Branchwood. There were families flying kites. There was a family picnic under one of the trees. There was a girls' softball team practicing. Thank you, that new home plate thing is beautiful. It looks great, and it was being used. Both dog parks were really, really busy, and the irises were blooming. It's just beautiful out there right now. No areas for review and no member interaction, but again, compliments to the team. That flooding from the creek went all the way into the softball court, and it was gone. They had to busted it to get that work done, so thank you to them. All right, moving on to Blowing Springs. Kathleen, your turn. That's all I got for now.
Great report. You're overachieving this month here. Good job.
All right, Blowing Springs. The park, I'm going to echo what Deborah said. The park looked great as always. You guys do such an incredible job maintaining it. The lawn's always manicured. There's no trash anywhere to be seen. Pavilions and bathrooms were tidy and stocked. There's still a little bit of a pothole as you pull into the parking back near the Gear Garden. It almost looked like it was filled in and then it washed out again. It didn't seem as severe as it was 2 reports ago. Let's see, there were some kids swinging from the rafters and climbing in questionable areas. So I don't know if you've ever thought about signage to prevent some. I was honestly a little like, parents, but that was a little worrisome to see. I was so bummed that we were out of town during the grand opening, but it sounded like it was packed. Ash did a great job promoting that. I spoke with Susan in the front office, and she said that things had been super, super busy. Lots of compliments from guests and no issues to report on her end. I also spoke with Warren at the Gear Garden. He said it's already been much busier this year compared to last. So he said that's been really great to see. He did have a couple recommendations. One was a new POS system to where guests can sign instead of having to print the receipt. So it'd help move the lines a lot quicker. And that is some of the feedback that I get from members, is just the lines. But a good problem to have nonetheless. And then also, he suggested moving the empty kegs that are inside to behind and locking them up to allow for another cooler or two to be able to carry more kegs. He said he can't keep the trailhead in stock, or potentially utilizing one of the ones that we have here or one of the restaurants. The new menu signs look great. I know last year they were kind of they look really, really nice. And I noticed we're already out of Pioneer cups, as people love those. But I know that we only ordered so many. Outside of that, everything was great.
Kathleen, great. Just as a follow-up, I will share some of the Gear Garden comments with Tommy Lee, because they manage that, but they are all very appropriate. Tom's not here. He has the correct stat, but they more than doubled the Pioneer cups that they ordered last year, and they want them to kind of be in demand, but not like sold out week 1. So I'm not sure if they've ordered more or not. I also heard from other people, though, they're buying multiple, so that's hard to plan for too. When somebody, I have a friend, it's just her and her husband. She bought 2. A friend bought 2 for her because they didn't think they had to, so she's got 4. Even though there's 2 people. So, but anyway, good comments. I'll pass that along. and appreciate the comments on the rest of the park.
Thank you, Kathleen. Brian, would you like to cover Tyree and Granton, please?
I certainly will, but I'd like to trailer on Kathleen's comments because I actually was going to mention, please quit running out of Trailhead Lager. And I have also witnessed young children on the trusses, and the thing that bothers me, being an old school kid and climbing around in trees and stuff, but those trusses go over the grills, and the grills are lit when I've seen it. So I'll throw that out there. I would also like to state that I am the first official purchaser of the Pioneer Cups for 2023 and the first refill of a Pioneer Cup 2023. Thank you. Moving on to Tyree. As usual, the lawns looked good. Everything was mowed down. Things picked up looking good. The trees are budding out beautifully. The trash was being emptied, plenty of mutt mitts. I did notice that the electrical outlet at the pavilion still is lacking any protective cover. So I wanted to bring that up again. As far as I know, that circuit is still live. And I did notice that, and I'm a little embarrassed that I've missed it up until this point, but I noticed that the insulation, Rick, on the vapor line for the AC unit for the restrooms is just rotted. And if you know anything about AC, that will prematurely kill that compressor unit. So that's something to think about. And Rick and I had already discussed an issue with the bathroom drain when I was out looking at that park. It was a week ago last Saturday that I was out there. Beautiful weather, good day to be out walking around the park. I didn't have a chance to talk to anybody. Everything else looked good. Except anything that I previously mentioned. Moving on to Granton, again, the lawns cut, looking good as usual, trash being emptied as usual. The outhouse was in good condition. I did notice, came on like gangbusters, there's a lot of moss growing on the far west picnic pad. That just came up fast and furious. I mean, it's a garden going out there. I don't know what triggered that bloom. I did get to talk to a young woman out there. That was the garage sale weekend in Bella Vista out here, and she happened upon Granton Park purely by accident, drove by it. She was out walking her dog, and she enjoyed the scenery there at the park, and she mentioned how nice and quiet that it was. And I have to agree that most of the time Granton is a nice, quiet park. That's all I have.
Brian, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, and I'm covering Lake Avalon Beach. Again, it was on Sunday. I've been through there before, but just very briefly, so this was kind of a first look for me. There were many young families out there using the amenities, even though the beach itself is actually still closed. There was someone using the volleyball pits. There were picnics going on everywhere. And that swing, that little disc swing, I don't know what you call it, where it goes, you know, the zip line swing, those kids were having so much fun. I was wishing they would leave because I wanted to try it. Like, I'm not kidding. They were giggling, laughing, having a blast. That was really fun. There were only 2 boat trailers out there, so I guess fishing was slow that day. And as you're standing there and you look over and you see that bridge going into the woods to the trail, it just looks so inviting. So I took a little extra walk out there too. But no member interactions, and I don't really know that I have observations other more so than questions, because there were things I just didn't know what they were, if you don't mind. So there was what I'm going to call a pontoon bottom with a plywood top that was carpeted, and it's tied up to the kayak rack.
Yes, that was supposed to have been moved by today, or we're going to take it from the lake. We don't know who it belongs to.
Okay, got it. Thank you. I didn't know if it was something for work or what, because it looked kind of, okay.
Yeah.
Curious. So there's no fish cleaning station there, and it does look like might be one of the primary reasons you would use that park, since it's a no-wake lake. So curious how some parks, and maybe this is a lake question I should get out of it, but some have fish cleaning, some don't.
Well, that would be a good area for a fish cleaning station if it weren't for the beach.
Okay.
So if we're going to have one, there is one down at the dam on the other end of the lake.
Okay.
So that lake does have a cleaning station.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for clarifying that.
And we do get smells, and we get a lot of kids all the way down to the dock, even not on the beach proper.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so that's why we don't.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question are, there's these little small posts along the water edge, and they're numbered, 1, 2, 3, 4. What are they for?
Shoreline mooring.
Okay.
We sell spots, it's or lease spots. Generally, they're for kayak, or for pontoon boats that are not easily damaged by mooring on the shoreline. You wouldn't necessarily want to do that with a fiberglass, ski boat.
Yeah.
But the pontoon boats do well. We don't get as many taking advantage of that as we once did. But there's still a few people that they're not lakefront, and they don't want to drop their boat, trailer their boat every time they go fishing. Yep. So they take advantage of that.
Great. Well, I just thought, the park looked great. I mean, I was expecting nothing to be there because I'm thinking in my mind a beach and it's not open, but people were really taking advantage of that amenity, so that was good to see.
And just so you know, Deborah, since you don't seem as familiar with that lake as maybe the other.
Correct.
As Rick was sharing about the pontoon, that's a no-wake lake.
Yeah, I saw the signs,
So that's why you're not gonna see the big boats, and sometimes those slips are empty.
Yep. Okay, thank you. All right, you're done with me for tonight, for that anyway. Scott, would you like to cover Reardon and the complex out there?
Thanks, Deborah. Yeah, sure sign that summer is coming. The tarps are off the pool at Kingsdale, and the plywood's been taken off the front. There's lounge chairs out there, so definitely look like it's getting ready. And the water was nice and crystal blue, so if there wasn't a fence there, I probably would have hopped in. Tennis complex was full. Every court was being used on the day of my visit except for court 3. But everything over there looks really good. The only thing that I continue to notice is those erosion furrows that are on the back side of the pickleball court, and with the rain coming up this week, they're probably going to get worse. They look like they're getting deeper. Wasn't anybody at the playground, didn't see anybody there. Saw some charcoal still in the girls at the pavilion, but I assumed you probably got those cleaned up already. People grilling probably never cleaned up their mess. Restrooms over there looked okay. The only thing that I noted, and I sent that to Joan before the meeting, was there was quite a bit of deadfall from all the wind everywhere, and just sticks and branches everywhere that are going to come out of those trees. So other than that, that's all I had.
Thank you. Yeah, we're dealing with that at the house too. It's lovely, isn't it, this time of year? Mary, would you like to cover Lake Ann Park and London Park?
Yes. I want to start with something totally different, and it's for you. So Sunset Vista, new trail that you guys put in. I'm sure you had something to do with it. Have you been on it? It's magical. It's so beautiful. There's like 12 hand-built bridges out there. I don't know how they do it, but it's probably like one of the best trails that I've seen out here. And we only ran into one snake, so it's not too bad. I'll take that. Yeah. Yeah, just let your people know. It's
Thank you for that compliment. I'll pass it along to Trailblazers.
Yeah.
We were part of the planning, but I haven't ridden it. So thank you. I'll pass that along.
One of the gentlemen out there were saying, I don't ride bikes, but I do hike the trails quite frequently, and that one is pretty amazing. So if you get a chance, go out there. As far as my amenities goes, not only did I do my amenities, but Brian, he went out, he took a look at my amenities too, because it's good to get an extra set of eyes out there, seeing things that I don't normally see and vice versa. So that was really cool to have somebody else check everything out and get to enjoy them. One of the things that I noticed is that the spigot by the pavilion on Lake Ann is not working, and the lights are not working in the pavilion yet. So I don't know if it was turned off for the season and just never turned back on. The fish cleaning station, the water has a slow leak that probably needs to be addressed. It's coming out both of the spigots on that. And then he was saying that there's a leak in the roof on the pavilion. There's a hole.
Ann or London, sorry?
Lake Ann. So in that pavilion, I couldn't find it personally, but when I went out, it was super dry day. But he sent a really good picture, so I can forward it to you guys so you guys can see that. So that was basically the things that need to be addressed there. And then London Park, everything looks pretty good. The only thing that really needs to be addressed is the doggy bag dispenser on the way in. It looks like somebody actually hit it with a car, and it's leaning over. So it probably just needs to be resituated.
Where's this one at?
At London.
London Park.
But you're not talking about the one up by the restrooms.
Nope, I'm talking about the
The
one like
first
right
one
when
on
you come
Grassy.
in. Yep, it looks like somebody must have like backed into it or hit it because it's still connected to the garbage can. It's just like leaning over really far. And then I just think that the restrooms there need to be addressed because like if you're just kind of like looking at it, it looks good and it's a great thing to have out there. But it looks like animals have started getting at the siding on that, which I kind of had mentioned before. There's also an area of the trim that looks like it's kind of pulling away from it. So we probably just need to get somebody out there to take a look at it because it's probably an easy fix now. But if we wait, it's not going to be an easy fix. But other than that, everything looks wonderful. So.
Mary, thank you.
Thanks, Mary
Deb,
Beth.
if I could just jump in here
Please.
for just a second, just to add just a little bit to what Mary said. On that mitt dispenser, Rick, just for your notes, the shroud over the actual dispenser area is jagged at this point. I think somebody did actually sideswipe it because it's torn the metal, so it's gonna be kind of a cut hazard. Well, it's just that shroud is all jagged now at the top. The metal has been torn and bent, and it's pretty rough.
When were you out there, Mary Beth?
Last Saturday.
And then, Brian, when did you? 'Cause I don't think it's been like that for a long.
It was a week ago, this last Saturday, so it was
Like the week before.
garage sale weekend, whenever that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
The last
about a
week
week
of
or
the
so
month,
ago.
All right, thank you. So Matt's up next, and he said he would be on Zoom. I don't see him. Are you there, Matt? Okay, Matt is not there. I don't know if Kathleen can find his notes. If she can cover for him. We'll skip him for a second and go to Chris. Chris, would you like to cover Tanyard and the trails in the Greenway, please?
Yeah, sure, we could circle back to the gun ranges, as you said, after mine. So, went over to Tanyard Creek this morning, and everything there is looking really good. Very busy. I happened to be there, and there was 2 full busloads of kids there, school kids on a field trip or something. They were mostly congregated around the falls, so just enjoying nature. Everything there, like I mentioned, is in great shape with the exception of one trail that we tried to block off earlier. This is a large straight down vertical trail going up to the waterfalls, and it was an erosion problem earlier, and it was blocked up and a chain was put across it. But folks have found a way to just walk their way around all that blockade, and now we're almost back to where we started from. So probably between us and the volunteers out there, we could reinforce the solution. There's a tree adjacent to it, so we could extend the blockade. As another idea, we could just drag a bunch of deadfall onto the trail so that the trail is just gone. Poof. And then that'll eliminate the problem.
So, yeah, the renaturalization, as you know, Chris, we've tried that before.
Yeah.
And you're right, then renegade hikers, walkers, bikers find the shortcuts.
We could put spikes down. I'm just kidding. I retract that statement.
Throw a snake out there, they won't go.
Or snakes, right?
There you go. Put a
Okay.
snake out there, it'd be fine.
Snake habitat, how about
There you go.
signage? All right, so that was Tanyard Creek, and the other amenity I report on is the trails. And the Greenway's in great shape. It's being used a lot. The Trailblazers had a work day not this Sunday, but the Sunday before, and we had about 20 folks come out there to recondition the Rago Trail, which runs in front of Metfield. What happens when a trail gets old is it kind of ruts out, and then it gets worse because the rain and the water channels through it. So the fix was, with all the people power and hand tools, was to cut down the low edge of the trail so it's all flat again, so water will then sheet in the area and it won't run down the trail and erode it out more. So that repair was made, like I mentioned. It looks good. So far this year, the trail adopters under the Trailblazers have logged 250 volunteer hours, and now we're just going into our busy season because the weed clearing and stuff will occupy the volunteers' time for the rest of summer. And a lot of it, some trails have to be cut multiple times through the season to keep it nice. But that's what they do. Everyone likes volunteering on the trails and contributing to that. The final note about the trails would be the Snowbird Trail, which is on the east side of town. It's been getting a lot of good positive feedback and dialogue on social media, and it's been requested that there be a porta potty put out there for that little trail.
We're working on that.
Very good.
That trail is not 100% done. It looks like it to the naked eye. The parking lot was just recently completed, but that is our plan.
Good deal. So with that feedback from the folks, that area is looking great and people love it. So that is it for the trails then. Deborah?
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. Were you able to find it, All right, Kathleen will cover the gun ranges for Matt. Thank you, Kathleen.
You're welcome. I visited the gun range yesterday around 11 a.m. There were 5 using the gun range. I used the rifle area, and there were 3 others using it. Upon signing in, I noticed that Saturday looked to have been a busy day. I asked when I signed in, and he said that Saturday was a busy day. The weather was a lot warmer than last time I went, with the nice shaded areas to shoot from and helps from the sun. The areas were clean and in good order as usual. The mulch walking area leading into the range was in good shape. The rock walking areas were clean and clear. Targets were nicely stacked that were not in use. The gun range area was clean and in good order as well. Signage around the area is clear and visible to anyone using the ranges. The bathroom is clean and in good working order. The parking area is maintained and clean. The grass was kept down on the range areas. The new rifle racks add to the rifle area. They were providing stakes to hold targets secure during winds that we've been having lately. That was nice to see your target stayed upright while shooting. Areas for review. I noticed that on the rifle area there were a few large wood bees flying around. May suggest looking into this. I know some people take their kids, and I had my daughter with me yesterday. Nothing major at this time, but thought it was worth the mention. And he has a picture of this too. Member interactions. I spoke to one member on the rifle range, and he said that he liked the addition to the yardage markers on the fence. He found that very useful when moving his targets to different yardages to shoot at. He was happy that they had been put up and showed thanks for it being done. Additional observations. I checked the trap and skeet area entrance, and the gate was locked and secure. This is good to prevent anyone from getting back to the area while no one is present. And that is all Matt had.
Thank you, Kathleen. I appreciate it. So that concludes our amenity reports. We'll now move on to the members of the board that are present, and we have 2 here tonight. Well, one's on Zoom. Jan Sims is on Zoom. We'll start with you, Director Hagan. Do you have any comments for us tonight?
Thank you, Deborah. Members of this committee, I just want to say thank you for volunteering. Volunteering is a big part of the success of Bella Vista, and this particular committee is a very vibrant committee that has an impact. So thank you for doing that. Appreciate it. If this particular situation doesn't work out, consider volunteering for so many other things in Bella Vista, so thank you for that. The other thing is, this is my broken record speech, but I'm connected with the RV community, and I think I've said this before, but the RV park continues to have a positive and growing reputation. And with the opening of the Gear Garden and how fantastic that was, that is a real amenity for those who not only are the bikers, but those who use the RV facilities as well. And so we don't want to keep those folks ever wanting, and they're not. I know that we recently repaved part of the road. That made a big difference when you have a big RV getting in and out. And it is a constant battle, as you mentioned, but still that's important. And then the Gear Garden really has been appreciated. So that's it, Deborah. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Director Sims, did you have any words for us this evening?
Service on the board and how they're the committee. And can you hear me okay?
We can now, Jan. You might want to start over. We missed the beginning.
Okay. I just want to echo Jan's comments about your commitment to the committee and how valuable that is and how much we really appreciate it. And I have enjoyed being a liaison on this committee for the past year. This is my last term, my last month to serve, so I really appreciate everybody's service, and I've enjoyed being a liaison. So thank you.
And thank you, Jan, for your service to the community. We appreciate you. All right, moving on to staff reports. Rick, do you have anything for us today?
I do. Just need to bring it up. All right. We did at the last Lakes Committee meeting approve a drawdown for Lake Windsor from March 6th of this year until, November 6th of this year until March 11th of 2024. We're looking for a 4-foot drawdown, and it should be down by early December. And that's, we've got some repairs to do, of course, like we always do. And it's also giving lakefront property owners a chance to do their work without the water in the way, which should save money. Our POA rangers are, they've seen a real strong uptick in the number of contacts they've had this last month. For the month of April, they were at 3,097, up from 1,419 in March, and up from 1,735 in April of 2022. So a lot of people getting out there and enjoying our amenities. Boat registrations are now past due, and we continue to run into folks out there that don't have the proper registration. And to avoid a not so pleasant interaction, we would encourage folks to get their registration taken care of before they get out on the water. We are beginning to see teenage groups again at a lot of our hot bathing areas, and are starting to see some problems at Lake Avalon at the dam. I got a report this past weekend of drag racing up and down the dam. So like we do most years, the gate to the dam will be locked from noon until 7 in the morning. And so we'll have a brief window open from 7 a.m. to noon, so fishermen can come down and access the dam and carry, so they don't have to carry their gear from the parking lot, and then it'll be closed, it'll be locked at noon each day. And we anticipate that to be the case until sometime after the 4th of July. So our grounds maintenance crew have been busy. We do have the new kayak rack complete at Lake Ann, and from what I understand, all 10 spaces were rented within like 3 days. The guys are also replacing rotten boards on various docks around the POA. Let's see. We may be looking for someone to help us out with grounds maintenance short term. We have someone going on family leave for a bit, and so if someone knows of anyone that wants summer work, which may lead into something more year round if our staff member can't come back, then let me know, and or direct people to apply. I should have a requisition out later this week for a opening. At the gun range, both ranges have been very well attended. In fact, April was a record for revenue. That's April's. That's not our biggest month ever. June is usually our biggest month, but this was our best April ever. All of our classes, upcoming classes, are full, and we had a corporate shoot last Friday which was very well attended as well. It was a perfect day for that. Our Lakes Ecology Department are hard at work. We did complete one of our aquaculture ponds. We went from no liner to having our liner complete and fish in the pond full of water and fish in the water within 24 hours. So things tend to seem slow. Nothing's getting done. And then all of a sudden, boom, everything came together at once, which was great, but you have to consider we're dealing with weather and laying those liners. We can't have a lot of wind. We've had some damage before because of that. So we may be delayed a little bit again before we get our second and third one up and going, but it's coming, and our fish are in the water and they're happy. So that makes me happy. So like Tom mentioned earlier, our open house was very successful. We had about 150 people in attendance, and Chris Fuller, who manages that department, was out talking to people for like 2 hours straight, and without a break. And John luckily noticed that he was looking pretty poorly and brought him some water. So that went very well. Our spring fish sampling is complete, and just looking forward to the summer. And we're not seeing a lot of aquatic weeds this year. I think the algae at the beach seems to be holding its own. Not a big problem there. Maybe we won't have to treat this year at all. Knock on wood. And one other thing, our yearly Kids Fishing Derby is May the 20th. We've already had March. At the Metfield Clubhouse Pond, from 7:30 until noon. Open to kids from 3. If a kid can manage a fishing pole, up to 15, and look forward to having a lot of people show up for that. And that's all we've got.
Rick, I've got a question on lake ecology. I noticed this weekend when I was out at Lake Windsor, there were 2 dead sunfish that had washed up on the boat ramp at the dam. And then down by my dock, down by Pontoon Park, I noticed there were 3 crappie that had floated out of Pontoon Park that were laying on their side, looked like they were gasping for air. They were obviously dying.
Really?
Just curious as to what might be happening in Windsor with
I
the
mean,
fish.
That's not that uncommon. A lot of times people will catch fish and put them on a stringer, and whether they decide that they don't want to clean them, or they don't have enough to clean, or maybe they have more than they want, for whatever reason they release them after the fact, and they're not in good shape when they do that, and that happens. I don't think there's anything more than that going on there.
Thank you, Rick. We appreciate it. Anything else for Rick? All right, moving on to Joan. Welcome back, Joan.
Thank you. So I'm going to give a rundown, and then I'm going to finish with some things that would love this committee's input on. So first of all, just want to say that the marina is up and running. Trey's doing a great job. We have some of our returning staff, some new staff. All the boats are operational, and you may or may not recall, but last year we got approval for a new pontoon boat, so we have a fleet of 6. We're working on selling our bass boat. It really hasn't been in use much at all, but we also have the ski and tube boat, which is very popular. I also want to give a shout out to Trey. He is an amazing technical, not only boat mechanic, saves the POA thousands of dollars from having to outsource boat repairs, but he is sort of a jack of all trades and basically a master carpenter. If you have a chance to go out to the marina, even if you don't want a boat or get bait or get an ice cream, go out there and just see. He recently remodeled our shop there. He hand-built a boat shelf that has some of our merchandise on. He put a new front on our minnow tank, which doesn't sound like that much, but it was an ugly blue fiberglass tank Rick can attest to. He brought in some hanging plants. It's just a great little place to hang out. We have seating outside. You can order from Lake Point on the hours that they're available, or you could just sit down there and watch the sunset. So it's pretty cool, and kudos to Trey on that. We also brought in some new merchandise, some fun things like the quick dry towels, which we're going to sell at the beach too. So it's just kind of fun, and I just want to give a shout out to Trey because he worked hard on that along with his team. Circling back to something we were talking about before we went live, vandalism. This time of year, and Rick mentioned how many contacts the Lake Rangers make. Unfortunately, this time of year, spring through fall, we do have ongoing vandalism, mostly at our parks. Kingsdale is notorious for getting hit. They've heightened some of the damage they've done over the years, but Metfield has always been also heavily vandalized. Debbie mentioned that she saw the porta pit knocked down. Well, myself, Rick's team, Jessica, we have been riding that porta pit almost every day. And you're like, kids, knock over porta pit, no big deal. No, we have to pay. I have to pay to have the company come out. They've been gracious with us. They came out and righted it a few times. Rick's team, we've tried to anchor it down. But if you see any kids messing with that porta pit or any porta pit, scare them off. It's unfortunate because not only can you not use it, which the whole reason we put it there is because some people at the basketball courts and pickleball courts don't want to traipse all the way up to buy the real bathrooms at the pavilion, but it's happening. They've also done some more egregious stuff that I won't go into right now. They also vandalize the actual restroom, pulling off sinks off the wall, things like that. So it's sad because, it wrecks the opportunity for the future. All that to say, keep your eyes peeled, because see something, say something. The police, I've made multiple reports to the police. They are doing more drive-throughs. Rick's Rangers, they do a drive, but you can't be everywhere every time. And at Metfield particularly, we kind of know it's the same group, and they know we're watching them. So sad but true. Tom mentioned about the tour at Reardon, May 16th. Just as a clarification, because this went a little awry last time, but luckily my team was good about it. It's a 3 o'clock tour. It's not an open house. Rick happened to have an open house for multiple hours where people could drop through. Ours is a construction zone. We have to shut down construction. So it's a 3 o'clock tour. But what we also did is we took a video of it. So if you can't make it, because sometimes we get feedback about working people, I got to do it when there's light, so it's a safety thing. I also have to make sure that the construction crew is on site because they're ultimately responsible, so we can't do 6 p.m. tours. They come in at the crack of dawn at work, and they're out by then. But we videotape the tour, and so we will have an upgoing video tour always on the website for somebody that misses it. But the 16th at 3 p.m., we'll give tours. We had to break the groups up, but last time my team stayed for a couple hours and just did one-offs for all the trickle-ins, but we won't do that all the time. So we'll try and make that better clear in the marketing. I think that was just a miss on our part, so we'll clarify that. Jessica is not here today because she was literally out at Metfield Pool working on the pumps. Appreciate that Scott has noticed the water clarity. Just as a review, maybe for some of the new folks, pools are the highest maintenance amenity that we have across the POA, probably next to golf. And it takes us a good month to get the pools balanced. We have to be inspected by the health inspectors. We have to replace parts every year. Remember, the pool's set dormant, so they have breakdowns, just like all of us have had broken pipes over the winter. So my maintenance team, Johnny, Jay, some of you may know them, Brad, they're working hard. We've got 2 pools up and running, meaning 2 pool complexes. That's actually 5 pools between Metfield and Kingsdale. We're getting ready for the beach. We will be bringing in new white sand, I think next week. We restock the beach with new white sand every year. When Rick did the drawdown, we did some prep work out into the waiting area of the lake, so the beach will be up and running. Those of you that have been to the beach before, you know that one of our most popular things, besides the zip line that Debbie mentioned, is a thing that we've called the Aqua Glide, and it's basically a big inflatable industrial landing pad. Kids can swim out there, they can hang out on it, adults like it too, but it's a very expensive feature, and unfortunately kids do, even though it's a commercial grade thing, you know, kids are kids and it takes its wear and tear. Unfortunately, that's no longer going to be in place, but fortunately we're building a permanent, well, I should say seasonal permanent, floating dock. So same concept, people will be able to swim out to it, it'll be big enough that a certain number of people can hang out, they'll be able to jump off of it, feet first, but we won't be putting thousands of dollars in annually to either repair or replace a inflatable. So, yeah, it's gonna look good. The team, MAC team's working on it, so it's gonna look great. Okay, I have a lot, sorry. Unfortunately, Scott mentioned debris, Debbie echoed it. With that real heavy windstorm, we had major damage at Metfield. Lost some pickleball windscreens, lost a major straight shade structure at the pool, and we lost a major anchor at one of our docks out at the marina. That's been repaired. The shade structure is on order, supposed to be here before opening weekend. The pickleball fence has been repaired. So it's just unfortunate, you know, it's weather, but it, you know, those are unplanned expenses, but we were able to get right on top of them and address it right away. Tennis, we have power washed all the courts because they get kind of grimy over the years. We've power washed the upper deck, which is a very popular place to hang out and have a beer and watch tennis. So tennis is looking very good. Tanyard, I know that was brought up earlier, but last weekend was the first weekend that Crazy Willie's, the ice cream truck, is going to be out there weekends. When school breaks, they'll be out there like 4 days a week. So not only is it a great amenity, but you know, if you're out there, and they usually open afternoonish, you can stop out with the kids or yourself and get a soft serve, and they're reasonably priced and good kids. They're actually the Hull family, who are longtime Bella Vista residents, and the kids were the entrepreneurs, although Julie and her husband helped them out. So kind of fun. Youth Triathlon, we opened the registration for that May 1st. We are doing clinics. You might have seen that advertised in the e-letter. We'll advertise it again in the rec e-letter. It's being run by a third party who does this. It'll be at Lake Avalon the week of June 20th. You don't have to do the clinic to do triathlon. Some kids already have experience. Some people might want to do the clinic, but all that registration is open and available. Also, swim lessons have, you know, we still have openings, but those went really well. We had our sign-up day. Also, swim team, still openings, but again, ready for the summer. Tennis camps, paddleboard camps, etc. I'll pause there. Are there any questions before we get on to playground? And I appreciate Jan recognizing the campground, and also Kathleen. I feel like a broken record. Every month, the campground Blowing Springs continues to exceed expectations. Tiny cabins book solid every weekend. It's I call it my other job of running my boutique hotel, because that's what it's like, but it's fun and people love it. So if no questions, going to go to the Kingsdale Playground. So if you recall, with the help of your support, we recognized that for the '23 budget, we really needed to replace the Kingsdale Playground. That's the one that's adjacent to Reardon. It is outdated. We can't get parts for certain things anymore. It's dull, it's boring. About 5 years ago, I put in brand new playgrounds at Metfield, which is our kind of our stellar premier park, Branchwood, and the zip line at the beach. Kingsdale at that point, we only had so much money. Fast forward to this year, as most years, we have a huge list of capital projects across the whole POA, and things have to, you know, get prioritized and shifted around. Originally, I requested $120,000, which sounds like a lot of money. It's not in the playground world, sadly. No, I think I requested $150,000. At the end of the day, it was completely off the books. And I begged Tom, and the board supported. I said, can I have 60 grand? Can I do a little something this year with the intention we'll do a two-phase? The board supported that. Fast forward, thank you supply chain. Remember, I get these bids way back in the fall, and every day you turn around, steel prices can go up, down, concrete, blah, blah, blah. The moral of the story is, we knew we wouldn't be able to do a lot for 60 grand, but we can spice up one of the areas. We're gonna take the big playground out later this year because it needs to go. And then the intention is we'll budget for a bigger unit next year. But this focuses on the littles, but some of the things I'm gonna show you today does have appeal for the older kids, because in the playground world, it's usually 2 to 5, 2 to 12, or 5 to 12. Those are sort of the breakdowns. Clay, who couldn't be here today, basically did all this background work. We met with a lot of our vendors, some new vendors, some vendors we've worked with before. I would say in 2018, when I replaced the Metfield playground, and I put in 2 major structures, a couple of smalls, and all the musical instruments, plus new mulch, plus you have to pay to have that installed. That's not something that we have our maintenance department. That was around $110,000. I couldn't do it for $240 now, that exact same playground. So that gives you perspective. You're like, shut up already, can we see some pictures? But I wanted you to have that perspective because it's important. All that to say, Clay did some great work. I have 2 companies and 2 options. We've narrowed it down. I don't want to show you 18 million things because I'm kind of an expert in this, worked with the vendors who are the experts in it, Clay and whatever. So now we're to the point where, what do you guys think? These are viable options, slightly over budget, but not crazy over budget. And we would do this probably in the fall, because if I order today, there's still a lead time. So with that, without further ado. So those are the existing structures of the littles. So there's like a climb through tunnel over there to the left. There's a little mini climbing wall, little landing pads, if you will. That's really aimed at the 2 to 5, but I've certainly seen older kids on it. But it's low to the ground. And then I will show you what we want to put in the general area. Of course, we would do some groundwork. Our team can save us money because they can do a lot of the prep work. But this is a company, Superior, and this has multiple slides, but it's not super tall slides. You see there's climbing structures. This is just another view of it. There's some basic things and some good climbing. It's not a huge structure, but it would take up most of what I showed you in that last picture. And these are just color options. We kind of got a few color options so you guys could react to them. But basically, this is the same structure. I'm just showing you multiple colors and whatnot. So let me go back. So orange and green. I mean, if you said to me, couldn't we do something with yellow? I could go back to them. They have a lot of colors, but this would be you know, a little darker. The benefits of that is sometimes it shows less scuff marks, but it might show more poop droppings from bird flyovers. Excuse my language. This is, huh?
How about heat?
So it's all plastic molded. Purple, dark purple versus the lighter blue, nominal. They're not like those aluminum slides that we all grew up with. I mean, some of us that are slightly older in the room. But there is none 100% that is sunproof. However, remember, that's a shady grove there. That's my advantage to that park. We are not taking down all those trees, so there's a fair amount of shade there. So this is one option. I'll come back to it. I just wanted to show you again what we'd be taking out, the general area. By the way, what I'm going to show you next means all that is out of compliance. That is pea gravel. And we would border the area and we would bring in playground appropriate mulch, such as what we have at Metfield, such as what we have at Branchwood, such as what we have at the zip line.
Do you know how old that setup is?
20 plus years. Oops, let me go the wrong way. So all that to say is, drum roll please, 63,000 change, because you're paying for playground, which is, you know, one cost, and then you have to bring in mulch, you have to have borders, etc. So that gives you a feel. This is the general area. To the left is that area, but this shows you we may take on more of the bigger area, but we'd still have room for, that's not perfectly to scale. We'd still have room for phase 2 next year, but this is the other option. Completely different. I'm always looking for fun and creative and different. If you've been driving around any parks in Northwest in Arkansas, Bentonville especially, because of their huge tax break, they've been able to do some phenomenal things, whether it's the Thaden airstrip or some of the smaller parks. Those, nothing under $250,000, just to give you perspective. Most of them, the big ones, are $500,000 or more. So this is a completely different group. This group I've worked with many times. This is more of a natural setting, if you will. It's not your typical slide. You can climb on things. There's hanging things. It is a different structure, just doesn't look like your typical playground. But probably the drawbacks of this is, you know, some kids just like the traditional slides. I mean, there's a reason why slides have been around forever. But it gives you a different feel. And then on this one, because that's a little like ramp, this does have handicap accessible areas. We could do a standalone slide off to the side. I don't have a great picture of that. This is another angle of it. You can see the ropes and whatever. If you ask, can people climb up on top? Technically, yes, kids will be kids. Not necessarily designed for that, but is it structurally sound? Yes. And again, this doesn't have as many, I would say, features, but it has different features. Again, another view, you've got some balance beams out to the side, those things in the white, you can climb and then like touch them. You see over to the side, it's like a rope thing. So then you see a standalone slide in that down below, which is, again, kind of wah-wah, but again, those standalone slides have been around forever. Again, your money will only go so far, and so this gives you a little bit more breakdown on these are the accessory pieces, and so the total on this one is about $1,000, about $900 more than the other one. Our budget was $60,000, just as a reminder. I likely would have to go to the board, Tom would go to the board and ask for the overage. We generally have a 10% contingency that's generally accepted, but we've been trying to tighten up that now. This is as tight as we can get it. There were others we weren't even close to our budget. And there were some others that were kind of like, snooze, can't even take this to the committee. We've gone back to the drawing board. We've been working on this for 4 or 5 months, and it's just been difficult because of the pricing and all that. So you don't necessarily have to vote today, but I'd love for feedback, or if you say, I love this one, hate this one, love this color, don't love it, have other comments, open for discussion.
I like the first one, and I like it in orange and green. I think the orange and green go really well with like the pool mural that you guys have down there, and I think that would tie in that area really well. Plus the orange is so bright, I think that it's gonna catch kids' eyes. And actually, even though you say it's a smaller park, to me, because of the colors and all the slides and stuff like that, it feels like a bigger park. I think the second one, although it may be like more modern, I guess, I think it's really ugly. And as a kid, I wouldn't be as attracted to that as the first one. Like this there, that looks like a park I want to play at as a kid. Cool. The other one, I'm like, that's really neat, and I love it.
Thank you. That's the kind of feedback we need. So just to review, here's that. Rick's got young kids in this
I'm
age.
technically not a member of this committee, but I have kids, and a 3 and 4 year old. They wouldn't even walk up to the second one. But they would be all over the first one.
And Kathleen, you have young kids too.
Same,
I
yeah.
just frozen my city.
My kids are 4, and I think same with Rick, I don't know that they would know what to do with that. Like, I'm looking at that and I'm like, I don't understand some of those features.
Fair.
Yeah, I agree on the first one. But I think both are, and I just appreciate options, and it's great to see that the work you guys have put in. Will the swings still be there?
Yes, so here's the plan. The big swings, the biggest structure, sort of closest to the parking lot, we're gonna keep, but we will remove the pea gravel, border it, put the proper mulch in. We will probably take the small swing set out, kiddie swings. It does get some use, but again, I might have to put a new one in phase 2 because again, bordering and mulching and all that just keeps driving the prices up. But yeah, the big swings are probably the most popular thing besides the actual structure that's there. Now, I appreciate the 3 feedback already from those that know kids, have kids, but that doesn't mean any of you can't weigh in. Just your, gut reaction or not gut reaction. Be happy to take more feedback.
Question on the material, how much does it fade, do you know?
No, it's, again, use Metfield as a good template. That's 5 years old. It is not well shaded, other than the shade structures that came with it. They continue to improve this plastic molding. It's made to be out in the sun. Now, is the one that there's now that is 20 plus years faded? Was it a more vibrant red and a little brighter beige? Absolutely. If I got another 20 years out of the playground structure, I'd be happy. Usually by that time, there's compliance issues, the new best thing in, and whatever.
Now, will that one be removed?
The big structure that's currently there will stay until we can get this one in. Then it's gone.
Okay.
I can't get parts for it anymore. So there may be some open space. The plan is, when I come back to you guys this summer to start budget, I'm going to bring up some more expensive options for phase 2 that would accommodate more than just the littles. Because a 12-year-old on this one, they might, and that's okay.
I still think it looks way better.
Oh,
I'm like
it's
100% fine. Just take it all out and put that in there.
Yeah, but I don't want to remove because it's the peak season. If I had been able to do this during peak season, I would have removed it. But I don't want to do that because even though it's full disclosure, most of you know me, I'm pretty transparent. Snoozeville and pretty ugly. Kids still play on it like it's going out of style. And it's the most visible playground we have in Bella Vista because it's right off Reardon, So people see it and they stop and it's in demand. So I don't want to take anything out until I have something put back in.
I'm just asking because they don't look similar, but they have the same features. So
yeah, there's some very similar features. Yeah.
And then you're
again,
talking about removing
better
all the
recycle.
pea gravel off the playground, replacing
No, there'll
mulch.
be playground, there'll be pea gravel in some of that general area, but if it's bordered and a play area, meaning pea gravel can be in any park.
Okay.
But if it's a drop zone, that'll be gone. Good question.
Anything, Brian, you want to add?
Yeah, I'll just throw in just an opinion for Joan, and maybe I'm a little more qualified because I have kids and grandkids.
There you go.
But yeah, I would say the option that Mary went with would be orange and green, and my youngest granddaughter, who's 7, but I've taken her to Metfield to play several times, and that looked like something that she would more use. And then if you could add anything that makes her spin around fast enough, that she would go for as well. So.
Yes, and there is that at Metfield, you're right, there's that little one.
Thank you, Brian. Jan, were you trying to say something, then I cut you off?
Yes, I was going to, I've got an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old grandsons, and the 5-year-old would love that complex that you showed that was purple and orange and whatever. The 7-year-old probably wouldn't, or the 8-year-old probably wouldn't care for it. He really liked the area at Gravette where he could climb on. He had bars and he had ropes and he had all that stuff. He really enjoyed that as far as the playground. That was my 2 cents worth.
No, that's fair, Jan. The park she's talking about at Gravette, if you haven't been there, so that's the other trend, and that was something that I looked at. We can't afford it, but it would be part of phase 2, is the climbing and ropes. That's a much, for the older kids especially, but it's I don't want to even call it a trend, but it's emerging. If you have been by Thaden, they have one. If you ever go to Lake Atalanta in Rogers, they have a couple. So we would be looking at stuff like that, but climbing to even, like she was saying, like climbing, there's one that I love that's climbing and then it looks like you're going up to a spaceship. Wicked cool. But I'll come back.
All right, we're running long, and I'll just add that I would take option number 1, and I do like the bright colors as well, especially as you said, driving down Reardon, it'll catch your eye. Any other comments, suggestions, anything we forgot? Anything else, Joan?
I appreciate your feedback. If I don't hear any more feedback in the next couple of days, we're going to probably proceed with ordering.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate it. All right, with that, the next meeting is Monday, June the 12th at 4 o'clock here in the boardroom again, and also.
Voting instructions?
Oh,
By
yes,
email
thank you for
or-
reminding me. So in terms of voting, I will send out a note probably tomorrow morning to the committee. We're going to vote as we have done in the past. We call them Chris's golf scoring method. So you'll rank your choices in order from 1 through 4, and the lowest score will win. How's that? And then we will submit that. So I'll send that out to you. If you could turn it around as quickly as possible so I can get it to Tom to get to the board. Nice meeting you. Thank you guys for coming very much. We appreciate it. June 12th, boardroom live stream. Thank you. Good night.
And yes,